Here's Brody Brazil.
So I know that right now we're only about a month into this 2025 Major League Baseball regular season. It is way too early to start talking about anything World Series. But this isn't about the actual matchup itself. It's not about the games themselves. It's about the site and location of baseball's Fall Classic, which has always been determined by whatever teams are playing in the World Series. And last season it was in New York and Los Angeles, and quite honestly, from a selfish baseball perspective, they probably loved it. Having Major League Baseball on the biggest stage in the two biggest markets in our country, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, New York and Los Angeles, for a business purpose of Major League Baseball. But what if they changed the format of the World Series? No, not changing it in terms of 7 games or how the two teams get there. What if they changed the format of the site and the host location to be just one location? What if Major League Baseball made the World Series a neutral site event? So let's replay last year. All right, it's the Yankees and Dodgers from, pick a stadium. Houston, it's got a dome. Arlington, where the Rangers play. Globe Life Field Park, which one is that now? Also indoors, could seat a large amount of people. Maybe they do it in Florida, in Miami. Warmer weather. They would get to choose the site in advance for the World Series and know the two teams, whoever the two teams are, that's where they'll go to play the World Series. More on the potential good of this, but more on a lot of people's questions and opposition to this. I already know. Most people hate this idea. I'm just going to spell it out and lay it out and let you decide. I think we all probably agree it's not the best idea, but let me play both sides of it in just a second. The World Series started in 1903. Best of 7. The format hasn't really changed. And if you're wondering, well, has there ever been a neutral site World Series? Well, at least in 2020 there was, and that was out of the situation that demanded it and dictated it. They had the neutral site World Series between the Rays and Dodgers in Arlington, Texas, home of the Rangers. The ballpark had just opened up. They socially distanced people, and it was a World Series they played at a neutral site. In fact, all the playoff games that year were at neutral site locations. So it has happened under weird circumstances, but in the last handful of years, actually more like the last decade, Scott Boras, the super agent, keeps bringing up this idea that he would favor it permanently to have a neutral site World Series. And I've gone back to try and find the exact quotes and him on camera explaining this. I can't find a whole bunch of resources or information or detail or why he is so supportive of this, why he is trying to champion this. And I'll hear anybody out. If you've got good reasoning, I'll at least hear it. But I couldn't even find okay, here's reason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are the selling points? I'm not even necessarily aware of why he's so behind this, but I know he is, and he keeps bringing it back into the conversation. The way it works right now is the 2-3-2 format. And the team that has the better record, here it is, the team with the better regular season record or win percentage of the regular season, they get home field advantage between the American and National League, meaning that you get games 1 and 2 at home, then you go on the road for 3, 4, 5, and if there is a need for a 6 and a 7, you play those back in your home ballpark. They can't do the 2-2, 1-1-1 like hockey does, for example. That's just too much travel for baseball. You don't want to play single games. So 2-3-2 is the World Series format. But since 1995, if you're wondering, well, does home field advantage make a difference? In the wild card era, since 1995, home field teams have won 20 of the 29 World Series. So generally more often than not, if you have home field advantage, but if you had the higher seeding, for some of those years, it was whoever won the All-Star game got the home field advantage, so there wasn't really a thing there. But teams with home field advantage, whoever plays game 1 at home in the World Series, they go on to win 20 of 29 times. So it's not dominant. It's kind of close to 50-50, but it is definitely in favor of the team with some home field advantage. In the case of a neutral site World Series, you would obviously be taking that away. Home teams all time in winner-take-all games are 19 and 21. So in a one-game situation that decides the entire World Series, when it is on the line, when it is a Game 7, can you believe that all time home teams actually have a losing record in the World Series? So goes to show you in recent years, in terms of whoever wins the World Series, maybe there is a little bit more of an advantage. But over time, in a one-game winner-take-all situation, the road team actually has the advantage. Here are some of the ideas. And again, you might disagree with all of this. Some of the ideas behind a neutral site World Series. For baseball's purpose, number one, you get to choose your city in advance. There's no rushed preparation. You can take all the precautions and set up with that ballpark you want to have. You can set up a convention center nearby. You can basically make this like a Comic-Con of Major League Baseball. Have this be the annual meetup of baseball fans, no matter what your team is. But I realize that's kind of what the All-Star game is, right? Like mid-season. But you could have this one for a lot longer. It's probably going to last at least a week. And again, you know all of this in advance. So you can prepare for it. You can execute it however you want it. There would probably be no weather issues. Now, granted, you're picking a lot of the same cities over and over again, kind of like they do with the Super Bowl. And that is a direct but different comparison here. It's direct in that, yeah, a neutral site situation is what the Super Bowl is. But it's also not the same in that the Super Bowl is one Sunday, one game, a one-off situation. They have 2 weeks to ramp up into it. This would have to be like, all right, NLCS, NLDS winners go right to the World Series. We don't even know who these two teams are until like 2 or 3 days before. But again, no weather issues because you're picking your cities in advance. No travel for the teams, right? During the World Series, there's no flight from a warm weather city to a cold weather city. I remember when it was the Marlins, and was it the Marlins in Cleveland back in the 90s? And it was snowing in Cleveland and guys were sweating through their shirts in Florida. So you don't have that shock to the system type situation or travel. And yeah, you could make it a week-long fan fest, festival type feeling. And when the Athletics, whatever they want to be called now, when they have tried to promote their potential move to Las Vegas, they've always said, well, what if baseball ever is a neutral site World Series? Wouldn't Las Vegas be the great destination for it? Well, yeah, but maybe for a ballpark that had more than 33,000 seats, whoever's going to get into that World Series if it's in a tiny ballpark on 9 acres. But I digress. But the point is that would be a team, and that would be somebody who would try and make it a selling point of, hey, we've got this very much hosting ability. This is Las Vegas. We have every conference in the world here. Come here for the World Series conference. And so that kind of brings me to the negatives. The neutral negatives is what I'm calling this. If you do a neutral site World Series, it's gonna feel pretty sterile. Right? A corporate event. Might as well just have everybody wearing a name tag, what city and what company you work for. It doesn't feel like both teams' fans are probably showing up because the way I look at it logistically, there's like a near zero chance of each team on a last minute whim, right? Being able to book travels and hotel. Again, going back to the Super Bowl, at least you know with the playoffs, it's fewer teams, eventually get to 4. But then when you get to 2, you still have about 2 weeks to figure this out. In the case of a World Series, you might not even have 2 days to figure out, well, am I going to go or not to this city? So booking travel, booking hotels, how many people from each team do you really think are actually going to show up to this neutral site? And some cities are never going to get to host a World Series. You think Minnesota is going to get the chance to host a World Series in October with baseball in the land of 10,000 lakes and how cold it gets and the potential of snow? You think Coors Field will ever host a World Series in October? I realize there is the potential for it to be really nice, but there's also the potential for some snow to be falling and for it to be really cold. So you're going to cross some cities off the list. They'll never get a chance to host the World Series. You're going to go to the same places. And here's the other part about it. The Super Bowl in a dome, okay. It is February, and on some level, you don't want weather to entirely decide the game, but do you want 7 baseball games indoors in October? Baseball was not meant for that. Baseball was really not meant to be played indoors. Let's try and avoid a World Series indoors, if we could. By the way, I could see Seattle getting a lot of World Series. Outdoor feel of the stadium, great ballpark, but they could throw the roof on if it was bound to rain. It still could get cold, but some cities are going to have no chance of ever hosting a World Series. And it also becomes a weird carrot. This is a negative for me, a carrot that gets dangled in front of teams. Well, hey, we've got some World Series to hand out. If you do what baseball wants, we'll take care of you. We'll give you 3 out of the next 9 World Series, right? So it becomes a competition. Everybody's like, ooh, me, pick me for the World Series to host. It becomes one of those things. So I think we can all pretty much agree that we've explored both sides of this. I've tried to make the best pitch I could. I do think a World Series with all baseball fans there would be great. but not at the sacrifice of taking it away from the two teams that deserve to be there and deserve home field advantage and deserve that opportunity to showcase their ballpark, to have those memories in their own stadium. It just doesn't fit, right? The Super Bowl is different. It's always been that way. Football is different. Apples and oranges here. So you can't say, well, it works for them, it'll work for us. I just don't think it works for baseball. It's not, I've heard worse ideas, but this one to me is not anything to move forward on. All right, that's the end of this video. Of course, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, thumbs up down below helps me, this video, and this channel, if you haven't already. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'm hoping you've done that already because you know I definitely want to see you hit that button. Back here next time.